is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
You know, sometimes when I get ready to do these shows, I struggle to find interesting stuff to talk about. And then there's these days where I have way too much interesting stuff to talk about. Stuff that could probably go for 5 or 6 hours, and we'll split it up today and go to 2 different shows. But the title of this thing is "A Storm is Probably Upon Us." I really do feel at this point the storm is there. Everything is showing itself to be indeed stormy. And I've told you for quite some time, the Democrats are done. They're looking for the next George Floyd. They're looking for the next BLM movement. Something, please do something. Burn something down. Ain't happening. And so now they're just going to take it upon themselves to self-destruct this party. I believe what we're seeing is the destruction, the death of the Democrat Party happening right before our eyes. And then literally minutes before I decided to go on, this bit of breaking news took place.
Breaking news into the Fanfare news feed.
She told me she has hundreds of cases of people coming in asking for asylum. They go to their immigration checking.
So my only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country, and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your...
So what you're seeing and what you're about to see isn't some blue-haired, nose ring having nut job trying to rush Kristi Noem. Nope. They're past that at this point. They're well past the point of relying on idiots and people from TikTok to get the job done. Now it's like if you want a job done right, you got to do it yourself. And so now these idiots have decided they are going to become the protesters. Sitting senators in the United States government are now advancing as a threat to members of President Trump's cabinet. I kid you not.
On your hands off!
How many of our ICE agents have been docked for doing their duty? How they have been targeted?
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead, put behind my back.
All right, cool. Hands in hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed.
This is a sitting senator in the United States government, a Democrat from California who has completely lost it and basically has now been arrested, and I hope it's for as much as threatening the Secretary of Homeland Security. He didn't want to, he wanted to get arrested, obviously. He wanted to show out, not going to take this anymore. We're going to make stuff happen. We're going to charge this woman. We're going to make her know we're not going to take this. This guy should be thrown in the Chateau d'If and throw away the key. Not just because of what he did was, disturbance of the peace or anything like that, but you should know better. And of course, you know it's going to happen. You can count on it. Start counting the minutes right now. The Democrats will rush to protect him. No Democrat should ever be arrested at any time. Never. They're allowed to do whatever they want, including threatening the Homeland Security Director. These people are at their wits' end. They have nothing left. They are terrified.
I heard throw up guy, right?
Without objection.
Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on. I yield the floor.
Hey, Chucky, how about he FA'd and got FO'd? There's your immediate answer. Adjourned. Done with it. We are tired of being subjected to this idiocy by the Democrat Party and then pretending like nothing happened. I just saw something that my virgin eyes couldn't take. Somehow, somewhere, we saw a Democrat actually get arrested. We cannot stand for this. I hope this guy, I don't know where they were doing that interview or press conference, but that's a federal crime. This isn't some misdemeanor in, Los Angeles. That's a federal crime. She is a federal employee. She's a member of the cabinet. She's afforded protection. And now we got to protect President Trump's cabinet from other senators? Is that really where we want to see the Democrats go at this point? Is that where things are? And you think I'm kidding when I tell you to get ready. Some of you in the chat were like, oh, Barry's being hyperbolic. He's being overdramatic. Really? What do you think that little soiree was for? That was to let all their orcs know we're willing to go to the mat with you. We're going to do everything we can, even if it's staged. If I know I'm going to get arrested, but I'm going to rush in there and I'm going to show you we are okay with you basically committing violence. Barry, yeah, you told us, but we didn't know it was this bad. Now you know. I was just checking the closet to make sure my friend over there in the closet that goes is still there and ready. And I got to get him some friends. The friends that kind of go into stock. So when you go, people know you mean business. I urge you, I compel you. These people are at their wits' end. The entirety of their party, everything they've worked for decades for, is falling apart and crumbling right in front of them. This, as I've said many times, is the agonal breathing of the Democrat Party. There's nothing left. If President Trump can continue, and Kristi Noem and Tom Homan can continue to do away with as many newcomers as possible, if we can start using our own language, if we no longer have to worry about your feelings, I can't even imagine if I was one of these pride people, like, man, we're halfway through our month, these people just took it over. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody. So you shove them to the side so that you can run around Los Angeles and scream and bitch and moan about stopping all the newcomers. And Kristi Noem said it best, and I believe this is going to be the refrain you're going to hear from many people in the cabinet and many people in Congress. You don't like it? Change the law. See if any of your laws, any of the things that you want to see happen, can get passed. We know they can't. Nobody wants what you're selling. You're selling stale, dead fish to Americans, and it stinks, and we don't want it. President Trump ran in his campaign to get rid of as many newcomers as possible. He's doing that. Did you think he was lying? Did you think it was fake? And so as soon as he got elected, many of these people should have started getting on Greyhound buses and heading for the border. And I'm not talking about Taco Bell. This is what we voted for. What we didn't vote for, and what we didn't expect, is that these Democrat politicians would turn into gang members themselves. Have you seen the videos that Eric Swalwell has been putting out? He's trying to be a tough guy and dropping F-bombs and saying all kinds of stupid stuff like it's supposedly cool. Like, dude, you don't look masculine at all. It looks like an act. Yeah, what the F is going on here? We're not buying it. Nobody is buying anything the Democrats are selling. Everything is fake. Everything is AstroTurf. Everything is paid and bought and paid for. They can't do anything to stop the train in front of them, and the only thing stopping this train from going full speed are other Republicans. It's disgusting. It's insidious. And right now, we should all be celebrating and seeing this train just going crazy, except for stupid Republicans on our side, because as you just saw, these people are toast. If you want to get down in the dirt and roll around and get arrested and try to rush the stage in front of a secretary, a cabinet secretary, there's something wrong with you. And it's not going to be the last time. And I hope every single time one of these idiots tries something like this, it won't be Chuck Schumer. It might end up being Swalwell. It might end up being Hakeem Jeffries. Throw all their asses in jail. No mercy. Don't expect any mercy. Throw them in jail. Let them run to MSNBC. I got arrested. All I did is try to bum rush some guy at a detention center. Nope, the grand jury indicted you. Sorry, LaMonica, whatever her name was. They don't seem to care about being arrested. When's the last time you thought you would see your politicians, because they're still our politicians, even though they're on the other side, when did you think you'd ever see our politicians openly and intentionally and brazenly in public breaking the law? Yeah, there's been some criminals in Congress and in the Senate, but they weren't doing it in, public view. This is all in public. They don't care about the law. They've disregarded it. It means nothing. And if your government officials are showing people that they don't care about the law, what do you think the miscreants who don't have, elevators that go to the top floor, how do you think they're going to feel? You best be ready. I'm telling you, you better get ready. Who sang the song? Rod Stewart. People get ready. There's a train a-coming. And these people are not going to last to the midterms. That's the other thing you should realize. There's no way they make it to the midterms in a normal state. They have to break stuff. Just make sure they don't break you. I'm serious. Be careful. It's going to get squirrely. And I'm not even talking about what's going on over there in the Middle East. And tomorrow. There's so much to talk to you guys about. So much. Before I get too far, I don't want anybody getting upset with me. So let me just talk to you real quick, and then I'll take some comments about chapter. Most of us think Medicare is something to deal with someday. That's how I felt until recently. I'll be turning 65 soon. Don't look it though. And the moment that number is hit, it begins. The mailers, the robocalls, the TV ads with actors you barely remember. None of it makes any sense. And worse, if you make a mistake and miss your Medicare deadline, the enrollment deadline, the government makes you pay penalties because you didn't enroll in time. They make you pay penalties for life. This is why I'm so glad I found the guys over at Chapter. They're the real deal. Fully independent, completely honest, and most importantly, they make Medicare enrollment simple. Chapter is the only national Medicare advisor that searches every Medicare plan to find one that's right for you, saving you money and hassle in a simple 30-minute call. Chapter has saved the average Medicare enrollee $1,100. No pressure, no nonsense, just clear, unbiased guidance, and it's completely free for those of you in the Fanfare family here. So if you're turning 65 like me, or even if you're over 65, don't take any chances with your health or your wallet. Call the number on the screen right there. What is it? 475-328-3545. Yeah. Or visit askchapter.org/Barry to book a one-to-one consultation at no charge and with no obligation. The chapter team is licensed and appointed nationwide. All right, so we're gonna hold that, go from there. All right. Next thing I want to let you know. We got Ann Vandersteel. She's going to be tonight. If you haven't listened to Ann, she is a firebrand. And she might piss some of you guys off. But she'll be on to tonight's show. So tonight I'm probably going to go at 7:30. A little 2-hour break in between this show. And there's so much. I'm pretty sure at this point, getting bumped by the Kristi Noem thing, I've got so much to discuss. So let me take a few comments right now, because here's what I'm going to do. I've got President Trump's amazing press conference that he did today. I don't know if you've seen it. He signed some orders, but he took a voluminous amount of questions from the press. So we're going to watch this together. I'm going to comment. You're going to watch. I took a poll. Looked like the poll said that nearly, how many people? Where is it? 61% of you have not seen it as of yet, so we'll take a look at it. All right, so let's see here. Anything in here you guys are saying? Thanks, everyone. Happy birthday, Britta. Please, Brother Barry, get the Rare Earth song and get ready. Okay. Finally, the arrests have started. That one was an easy one. He tried to bum rush her. That was kind of easy to take a look at it. All right. Trump should run for vice president. I missed the presser this morning. All right, so we're going to get to it. I'm not going to waste too much time in between here because there's so much content to go through. In addition, depending on how much I get through here, if I don't get to it during today's show, tonight, we got pressers, and then we also had the governor's inquisition, I'll call it today, into Congress. Hochul from New York, Pritzker from Illinois, and Tim Walz from Minnesota were in the hot seat, and they got grilled about being so-called sanctuary cities. So much going on. So let's first just jump into this with President Trump. I'm going to watch it along with you. Understand, okay, it is now 3:20. This press conference, actually he talks, he signs the documents, and then he has the press conference. It goes for about an hour and 15 minutes. So if you've seen it and you want to go eat or something and come back, that's fine. But we're going to cover this, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Well, thank you very much. I just said to Mike, this is fantastic. I didn't think we were going to see this coming for a while. Congratulations. This is a very, very important thing. Thank you very much, everybody. This is a very important thing we're going to be discussing. Please sit down. Thank you very much. This is good news indeed. People said it couldn't be done. You got it done. I just have to sign, right? That's very good. This is really something. And it has to do with the California Auto Regulation, CRA. It's been a disaster for this country. And I want to thank everybody for being here. We officially rescue the U.S. auto industry from destruction by terminating the California electric vehicle mandate once and for all. They said it couldn't be done, but boy, it's had us tied up in knots for years. And they'd pass these crazy rules in California, and it would be 17 states would go by them. The automakers didn't know what to do because they're really building cars for two countries. When you have 17 states, you're building cars for two countries. And I want to congratulate you all, the Senate, the House, the whole thing. It's incredible. I was going to sign a executive order and give it a shot. But the one good thing with this, number one, it holds up forever. And number two, unless somebody votes it out, they'll never do that. And it's just so much better, huh? It's so much better. That's so great. Very proud of you. We're joined today by the great Speaker of the House. I think he's going to go down as a great Speaker of the House, too. I may be wrong. I may be wrong. Who knows? Who the hell knows? I think he is. And he's doing something, the only thing I would say is more important than this one, and I'll tell you what, it's almost close. That's how big this is today. But the great, big, beautiful, I added the word great, I used the word. The great, big, beautiful bill, it's going to be one of the most, I said it this morning to a group, I think it's one of the most important pieces of legislation ever signed, ever approved. So it's going to be something very special. Thank you very much. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, thank you. Secretary Sean Duffy, and they had a problem in India today, and you're on that. Sean's doing a tremendous job. Secretary Chris Wright, everybody said you'd never be able to get him. He's the most talented man, they say, in the oil and gas industry. I'll let you know in about 2 years if that's true. Well, Doug Burgum, I wanted Doug Burgum to head up energy because he was so successful in North Dakota. He's governor. And he said, sir, there's one person who's much better than me. I said, who? They said, Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? I had no idea. Now everyone knows Chris Wright. He's going to be more famous than me. But he said, there's a guy named Chris Wright, and if we could get him, he'd be better than I am, sir. And if you know Doug, Doug's not here, is he? If you knew Doug, he's always working someplace. But if you knew Doug, you'd know that he doesn't say that often. And he did. And Chris, you're doing great. But I don't like the oil prices have gone up just a little bit over the last few days. I was going to call it, just really start screaming at you. Are we okay? Nothing wrong, right? It's going to keep going down a little bit, right? Because we have inflation under control perfectly. You probably saw the records. Everyone's on television saying, what's going on here? Trump has proven to be right. All of these things. We've taken in $88 billion in tariffs in 2 months. $88 billion with no inflation. And if we're smart, there won't be. Now, we'd like to get this guy to lower interest rates because, if he doesn't, we have to pay. We have a lot of short-term debt. Obama gave it to us originally, and Biden carried it on. They like short-term. I like long-term cheap debt. But a lot of the debt comes through because Biden, he didn't do it. I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. But somebody approved short-term debt. It's all over the place, and it comes due starting very soon. And if we would lower the interest rates by 1 point, we'd pay about 1 point less. That's $300 billion a year. Can you believe it? 1 point. If he'd lower it by 2 points, we'd pay $600 billion a year less. That's for years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever we make it. But we can't get this guy to do it. And the fake news is saying, oh, if you fired him, it would be so bad. It would be so bad. I don't know why it would be so bad, but I'm not going to fire him. I just want him to, we call him Too Late, right? Too Late is his nickname, like Too Tall Jones. He was too tall, T-O-O. And I just say this because we want to get rid of inflation, and we have. But we're going to be paying more for debt. And all he has to do is lower it. Europe's done 10.
Barry again, just wanted to jump in. I'm going to be jumping in from time to time because as he says things that I feel like might need some explanation. One of the terms I used last night was like America is on a adjustable rate mortgage. Those of you who have purchased homes, you know it's much safer to have a fixed rate. And so you know what that debt is the entire time. You can do your amortization. You know, I got to pay down this much. How much principal do I owe? Can I make an extra principal payment to drop down some of the interest? And you can manage the debt. So imagine if your house was on a permanent adjustable rate mortgage that somebody can say at any time, we're going to raise it or lower it, and we'll let you know what we're going to do. So all of a sudden you're paying $1,000 a month for your home, and then some guy decides, well, we're not making enough money. We're worried that you might not be able to pay, and because we're worried that you're not going to be able to pay, we're going to raise your mortgage, which is the stupidest thing, because if you think I'm in a position where I might default, raising it is be the worst thing to do. Why are you raising it? Well, we heard you're not doing well at work and you might lose your job, and then your family might not be able to be fed, and so because we're kind of shaky, we're going to raise your rates. Makes no sense in the world. Essentially, America is on an adjustable rate mortgage.
Borrowings, we've done none, and nobody understands it. Actually, today when the numbers came out, they were so good. You saw yesterday's numbers, incredible. No inflation. Today's numbers. Today just came out, same thing, no inflation. They're all shocked. All these guys are watching from business, CNBC, and all of these different networks. Maria Bartiromo actually got it right. She's been getting it right for a long time, that one. I hope she's appreciated. And Joe Kiernan's been very good at CNBC, I must tell you, but other people aren't so good. But I will say that they can't believe what's happening. But if I could, because we can discuss, we get a lot of press, we get a lot of cameras rolling right now. Not that I like doing it, because I don't. But if we cut our interest by 1 point, for years, we save $300 billion. If we cut it by 2 points, we save, because it's pretty equivalent. We're going to spend $600 billion a year, $600 billion, because of one numbskull that sits here. I don't see enough reason to cut the rates now. And the problem he's got is that, and I explained to him, look, if inflation went up, cut your rates now. There's no inflation. We got it down. We got prices down. We got gasoline down. And you'll keep it going down, but gasoline's down. It's drill, baby, drill. That's why it's going down. But all that. But think of it. I said to him, he was in my office a couple of days ago. I said, if you think there's inflation, let's find out. Because I think we're going to keep it down. I think gasoline's going to be so far down. Oil, energy, it's so much energy. We have so much energy, we don't know what to do with it. But let's say there was inflation in a year from now. Raise your rates. I don't mind. Raise your rates. I'm all for it. I'll be calling you. He'll be too late for that too. But raise your rates. You don't have to keep them up here. If it's going to go up, I'm okay with you raising, but it's down. And we're going out to financing. And I may have to force something. Somebody said, "Who's the genius that thought of that?" I said, "It's me." Unlike Biden, I stay awake at night thinking about how to save our country. He was much better at sleeping than me. He could sleep on a beach. He could sleep on a beach with cameras rolling. I can't do that. But I had an idea. I gave it. They said, "This is really, we'll go short term for a year. Let this guy get out of office. Somebody will come in, cut it a couple of points, and we'll save ourselves $7, $8, maybe even $900 billion a year." What is he doing? Why doesn't he lower these rates? And with that, we'll get on to the California standard, which is a disaster, okay? So Chris Wright, you're going to get the numbers down. Thank you very much. Lee Zeldin, one of the most important men in this room. He's the man. I get nervous when I talk to him. He's doing a great job. Nuclear, I say, okay, you can take 2 weeks for that approval. It used to take 20 years, then they wouldn't approve it. Now I say, Lee, nuclear, I'll give you 2 weeks for an approval. A coal-fired plant, you only get a couple of days. And oil and gas will give you a week, okay? Something like that. But he's doing it so fast, and we have so many plants being built right now. It's so beautiful to see. And one of the reasons they're coming here is because they have to produce tremendous, especially the AI, they have to produce beyond believable amounts of electricity. And they're doing, I said to them, I think this was more or less my idea. They didn't have the idea only because they didn't think a thing like this was possible. I said, as you build your plant, you're going to become a utility. And you're going to build a separate plant right alongside of it. You're going to build it. You're going to build a plant that produces electricity. And you'll produce it through natural gas, coal, nuclear. We don't want to produce it through wind because we don't feel like ruining 50 miles of beautiful plains and beautiful vistas. And but we want to produce it. You know, interestingly, China is opening up a coal plant every single week. But now I'm finding out it might be 2 plants every single week. And, you know, usually that's a good gauge. If they're using coal, I guess we're supposed to use coal. And, you know, we went to a coal standard. And not that you have to use coal. You're going to use whatever's best. I want to introduce also Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso, who's a tremendous guy, doctor. Okay? And he is a tremendous guy, tremendously talented doctor. When I have a medical situation for the country, for myself, I haven't used him, but I might have to. Maybe I'll do that. If it's serious enough, I think I'd probably do that. But he's a tremendously talented gentleman who happens to be a senator and one that's very respected. Chairwoman Shelley Moore Capito, and congratulations. I just endorsed your son. Did you know that? I endorsed your son. I endorsed your son, who's running in West Virginia, and he's great. In fact, he's all Trump all the time. I think much more so than you, actually. You were his largest impediment. No, I'm only kidding. He's all Trump all the time, and he's going to win big, and so congratulate him, okay? He's really been fantastic. So many people have told me. Thank you. And House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's a brave man who went through hell. Steve went through hell. And we have a lot of other people here that I won't be able to because I don't have your name down, and I'm looking and I see people's names. I'll do a couple of you, but thanks as well to Mark Wayne Mullen, Senator. Mark Wayne, thank you. Sit up, Mark Wayne. Don't fight him. He's a serious fighter in a lot of ways, and he's a great guy, too. Thank you, Mark Wayne. Deb Fisher. Deb? Thank you, Deb. Good. Pete Ricketts, who's going to do very well in the upcoming election. Thank you. Thank you, Pete. John Ushered, who's really moving along in Ohio. John, good luck. You're going to do well. All endorsed people. John Curtis, who's doing terrifically. John, thank you. Good job. They all say excellent. What can I tell you? Good job. And Bernie Moreno, who won a race that was not winnable. They all said it's not winnable. He won in Ohio. They said, you can't win that race. It's a waste of time. You're just wasting your time. Right, Bernie? Wasn't a waste of time, was it? Huh? And he won by like 5 points, too. Won by a lot. Along with Representatives Kevin Kiley, Vince Fong, Jay Obernolte, Doug LaMalfa, Daryl Issa. Where's Daryl? I haven't seen you in such a long time. Look at you. How good you look, huh? Good when you have those big margins. It's easier. John Joyce, great guy. John, thank you. Thank you, John. Dusty Johnson, Morgan Griffith, Troy Balderson, Troy from a place called Ohio, and he played very cute at one time, but then he got, boy, I'll tell you, he's become a good politician. Where is Troy now? Where I haven't seen him used for years. I endorsed you early when he was early and younger, but you still look young, and you've done fantastically good. Good work, really good work. Claudia Tenney, New York. Claudia, thank you, Claudia. John James, I don't know. You know, he's running for governor, but I'm not sure I'm happy about that, John. Do we have somebody good to take your seat? Because otherwise we're not letting him run for governor. We can't. You have somebody good, right? Okay, as long as you like him, they'll win. Tracy Mann. Tracy, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Michael Baumgartner. Michael. Thank you, Michael. Good job. David Rouser. Thank you. Glenn Grothman. Hi, Glenn. Thank you very much, Glenn. Brett Guthrie. Brett. Thank you, Brett. Rudy Yackham. Thank you. Thank you, Rudy. And I want to thank you all. And there's some additional people in the room, but we have to get back to this. Is like so big. This is a big one. Under the previous administration, I could go point after point, everything they did, open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, let's go transgender. What a group of people you had over there. They must have hated our country. Under the previous administration, the federal government gave left-wing radicals in California dictatorial powers to control the future of the entire car industry all over the country, all over the world, actually. Because they have to build a car. They can't build 19 different cars called the same thing. And really, it was all over the world what was happening. They approved Governor Gavin Newsom's ridiculous plan to impose a 100% ban on all new gas-powered cars within a very short period of time. Think of this. You couldn't buy any other car except an electric-powered car. And in California, they have blackouts and brownouts. They don't have enough electricity right now to do the job. And countrywide, you'd have to spend $4 trillion to build the firing plants, to be able to, they call them a lot of things, charging plants, firing plants. $4 trillion you'd have to spend. In the Midwest, they built 9 of them. 9 individual, it's like a pump, just like a pump, except instead of gas, electricity comes out. They built 8 of them. $9 billion they spent for 8 little hoses, $9 billion. Now, I'm sure they could have done it for about, 1/1000th of that, but even if they did, it's unaffordable. They approved Governor Gavin's ridiculous, is so ridiculous. By the way, if I didn't bring the military in, Los Angeles would be burning down right now, be burning just like his damn houses burned down because he didn't have the water that he should have had. He had so much water. They have so much water. We had to send in the military to free up the water. And we did that right after the fires. We told them to do it in the first term. But just like that ridiculous plan, this is a plan to ban, think of it, a plan to ban 100, and they call it the 100% ban on all new gas-powered cars and abolish 75% of the gas-powered trucks. 75%. The trucking industry saw me. They said, sir, it doesn't work. Number one, the trucks are so heavy. They're 2.5 times heavier than a diesel-powered truck. So one of the big truckers owns 28,000 trucks, big company, tremendous company. He said, I go out of business immediately. I'm not going to play games. I mean, he said, did you explain these things to the government officials? Like the truck weighs 2.5 times more than a regular truck, a gasoline-powered diesel. And he said, based on that, we have to rebuild every bridge in the United States of America because it wasn't designed to hold cars and trucks that heavy because the batteries are very heavy. They're, probably lead. But they have a lot of things in those batteries that weigh a lot. But it's 2.5 times. It's a simple number, 2.5 times. And if you want to do this, you have to spend trillions and trillions of dollars on rebuilding every bridge in the United States, and I guess throughout the world, because they do follow us. And the big rig buses and even cement trucks, they want to abolish certain categories of truck, but they want to go 75% of all of these trucks have to be abolished almost immediately. I mean, the time is just crazy. And they don't go far. Another little problem. With a tank of diesel, you can go from New York to Los Angeles if you want to go to Los Angeles right now. But New York to Los Angeles, and you can go back a little bit. With the electric truck, you'll stop approximately 6 times. Enjoy your stop. And the truckers saw me, and I said, did you just explain this? Because this is like, if you explain it, if a person's reasonable for that, he said, we explained it, they didn't care. They said, we're going all electric. They can't be stupid because anybody that can cheat on elections like them is not a stupid person. But they must hate our country. But I said to this big trucker, he said, sir, I've been buying trucks my whole damn life. He's a rough guy, smart guy. He said, I got thousands of them. I've been buying them for 50 years. And every single year they got better. They got more efficient, they got bigger, they got stronger. I build apartments in my trucks now for the drivers. I said, what's an apartment? That's on the cab. They put this in. And sir, I know you like luxury, but you wouldn't mind living in one of these. I said, maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. I mean, it doesn't sound too appealing, but I said, so what's the problem? He said, so I noticed one thing. For 50 years, every single year, one thing happened. They got better. They got stronger, they got more efficient, they got faster. They could carry any load. If we went to this standard, we'd go back beyond 50 years. They wouldn't go as far as a truck from 50 years ago. It would be too heavy and have all the other problems. He said, we'd be going backwards. We'd be taking a trucking industry, would be starting all over, but actually it would be worse because it was better 50 years ago than. So I said, what are you going to do if I don't win this election? This was before the election. He said, you don't win the election, I'm going to close up my business because I'm not going to lose he said, I'm not going to lose my ass. I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be a catastrophe. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. They're making you buy stuff that doesn't work. It's no good. It doesn't work. And I'm all for electric. If you want to buy electric, you can buy electric. Cars are great. If you buy the right ones, cars are great. And you should be given the option, buy the electric car, buy a gasoline-powered car, buy a hybrid. Probably not hydrogen, because hydrogen has a tendency that when it blows up, you're gonzo, it's over. They find you 75 yards down the road, Where is he? Well, I think that's him, but I'm not sure. So, they said, we think we can solve the problem. I said, that's not good enough when they think. No, it sounds like it's quite severe. If it doesn't work, Steve, it'll work most of the time, but if it doesn't, it's over. It'll make your accident look like peanuts compared. You wouldn't be around, I'll tell you, because it's pretty, but some people like it. I don't know. Let's see what happens, but I would say it's off to a bad start. But because of the size of California's population and the fact that 17 other states follow California, that's the problem. 17 other states follow California. They have the most ridiculous laws I've ever seen for a lot of things. This is just cars, but and trucks and they have a lot of them for other things. But we have, it's called the California Car Standards, and this horrible scheme would effectively abolish the internal combustion engine, which most people prefer. Like so far, I'd say about 90%. In fact, General Motors announced yesterday they're going to spend about $6 billion because of tariffs, and maybe because of my election on November 5th, but because of tariffs, I think, more than anything. They're all coming back. They're coming back from other countries that took them 25, 30 years ago. They're all coming back. We have now almost $15 trillion. They had almost nothing last year, and the year before, they very, very little. Nobody wanted to be back here. Nobody wanted to come to our country anymore because we were like stupid people. We looked like stupid people. We were laughed at all over the world. Now we're not laughed at anymore, I can tell you that. But they wanted to shatter our domestic supply chains and literally grind civilization to a halt. We would have gone so far back. It's hard to believe, actually. Hard to believe when you don't have enough electricity to give a person a little air conditioning in the summer, and now they want you to take electricity and fire up all these cars. But we're not going to let that happen. Meanwhile, all of the auto jobs would be shipped to China because they're very strong on electric, and it lives off an estimated 200,000 American auto workers would be destroyed. It's one of the reasons I did so well with the United Auto Workers, and now I'm really doing well with them. I did phenomenally with them. No Republican ever got any numbers like I got, and the Teamsters too. Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters, these guys, they like Trump because I produce jobs. They know that. Everybody knew that the auto workers knew better than anybody how good the tariffs were. And the head of the auto breakers, I don't know him at all, but he didn't like me at all. Now he's going around saying, this guy's unbelievable. He was very nice to me the last few months. During the campaign, no, but if I've proven, I've proven it. I've done what I said I was going to do, and we've brought back tremendous numbers of jobs. And you're having auto plants built all over the country, all over. There's never seen anything like that. They're leaving from Mexico, they're leaving from Canada, they're leaving from other parts of the world. If they want a Mercedes-Benz, you're going to have it made here. It's okay to have a Mercedes, but they're going to make it here. Otherwise, they're going to pay a very big tariff. They already are. That's one of the reasons we have $88 billion. It's a lot of money. But that's peanuts compared to what we're going to be making in another few months. They haven't even kicked in yet. But we're not going to let any of these bad things happen, these stupid projections that I've been reading about for the last 6 months. I think these people are either corrupt or really dumb. And they're supposed to be economists. In the campaign, I promised to end this disaster, and today our Republican majorities in Congress have delivered, and I don't know, I can't imagine. It's so obvious, it's so good. Did we get any Democrat votes? Did we get one? Two? Who? 35. Yes, sir. I think that's great. I think that's great. You got 35 Democrats. 35, yes, sir. I think that's great. That, as far as I'm concerned, one in the Senate. On something that's so good. But who is the one? Well, I shouldn't have asked. I congratulate her. I don't care. I think it's great. It's very interesting. Why did I ask that question, Mr. Speaker? But in a few moments, I'll sign 3 pieces of legislation that will totally kill. You can't do anything about it. They can't take us to court. They can't do any of the things they can do with the executive orders. And it's permanent. I'll sign 3 pieces of legislation that will kill the California mandates forever, and they're never coming back. Now, the auto companies are the most happy because now they're going to be designing and building one auto. It will be much cheaper. It's a much less expensive. They were showing me, one of the most respected people was showing me that to save a little, like a half a glass of fuel, cost them thousands of dollars with new computers and stop it. The engine has to stop and then turn on and blah, blah, blah. And I said, does it work as well? No, it's terrible. It's terrible. And that's to save a little bit of fuel, this much fuel, that Chris Wright can produce with one extra little oil well someplace, right? One little, a small one, a very small one. But think of it, your cars are going to cost you $3,000, $4,000 less, and you're going to have what you want. And again, you can get any car you want. You can get electric. A lot of people love the electric. They like Tesla. So do I, in all fairness. I like Tesla. And I like others too, but I also like combustion engines. And there are reasons for a lot of things. When I was in Iowa, we had an unbelievable victory, if you remember. Remember? That was nice. You won by like so much, nobody even talked about anything else. But that was a great victory. But it was unbelievably cold that night. And I was going to watch my victory in the area where I was going to make a speech. And the whole place was littered with cars. I said, what happened? They were electric cars, and they don't work in cold. I said, I didn't know that. And they don't work in extreme heat either. Other than that, they're wonderful. But if you're in a cold climate, how do you do that? But they're electric cars, and I noticed that, and then I didn't pay much attention because we won by about 65 points. So I was more interested in that. But I do remember that scene. I said, what the hell is going on over here? This historic action will also help us reduce inflation and bring down the price of automobiles and electricity very, very substantially. We're building massive electricity right now. It's already started because of that guy right there, Lee Zeldin. By far the most important man in the room, Mr. Speaker. Stand up, Lee. He blows you guys away, John. He blows the politicians away. I'm sorry right now. He's a great politician. He almost won for governor in New York, which is just missed by a few points. And that was another race that was not winnable, but you almost got it. But I think what you're doing now is even bigger if you want to know the truth. I think it's actually more important if you can believe that. Under the previous regime, car prices skyrocketed as a direct result of the mandates. These mandates, this nonsense that you had to do. And there's so many other rules and regulations that the car companies who are here today appreciate that. And Susie Wiles is here today. Stand up, Susie. Most incredible woman. Most powerful woman in the world, they say. She's the most powerful. She was rated the most powerful woman in the world. Susie Wiles, one phone call and a nation is destroyed. She could destroy 5 nations with 5 calls, and she's doing a great job. More importantly, right? Doing a great job. Nobody like. Energy prices would likewise soar as a radical left forced more electric vehicles onto the grid while blocking approvals for new power plants. They want to block the approvals. They want you to have a car with electric, but they block the production of the juice that runs the cars and all of them, all forms of cars. It's just the craziest thing. We're in a different sphere now. We're in a whole different planet right now. The result would be rolling blackouts and a collapse of our power systems. We'd have a total collapse. You couldn't do it. You couldn't even do it. Think of it, they're forcing you to do something, and they want you to do boats also. I assume boats are being covered by this, and boats, they want you to go all electric, and the batteries are so heavy, the damn boat practically doesn't float. I used to have a lot of fun talking about that one on the tours. We'd talk about it, and I said, what would happen if the boat sank? Because we went to North Carolina, South Carolina, we visited boat factories, unbelievable guys. And they said, sir, we have one problem. They're forcing us to go electric for the boat. I said, how's it going to work? The boat will not float, sir. It's so heavy. And it won't go fast and lots of other. And I did ask him a question because I have a lot of background. My uncle was a big shot at MIT, the smartest guy. He never had a smarter guy. And I guess I have a little of that. My first question was, what would happen if the boat sank? Do you get electrocuted? Remember I said that? And I used to be decimated by these people back here, right? I used to be decimated. They'd say, what kind of a crazy question is that? So I'm actually serious. What happens if you're in an electric boat and the boat is going down? You're in trouble, Susie. And I used to say, remember, I'd get decimated. The audience loved it, but the press would laugh at it. I said, so if I have my choice of going down or jumping 5 or 6 yards away from the boat, but there's a shark there, what do I do? You know what I said? I'd rather be electrocuted. I said, I'll take electrocution every single day. But actually, he said, nobody's ever asked me that question, sir. He makes boats. Nobody ever asked me that question. This is really an unusual question. He said, and honestly, I don't have the answer. He wasn't able to. I said, don't worry about it. If I win, you won't have to worry about it. But today we're saving California, and we're saving our entire country from a disaster. Your cars are going to be thousands of dollars less money. And even the ones that, if you buy electric, we're not going to make you do certain things that are just a waste of money and just time-consuming waste of money. They make you do things that are no good for anybody, make the car worse, and make it much more expensive. Over the past 5 months, our administration and Republicans in Congress have fought for the American auto worker and for Teamsters and for, by the way, right to work. We have them all. We have, we just call them just workers. We fought for workers like no one has ever fought before. I understand that. It's why we won. We won with workers. We won with young people. I just saw with TikTok, I was #1 on TikTok in its history. Can you believe that? So I guess I like TikTok. That's why they're saying, are you saving? And we probably will save TikTok, actually. But on my first day in office, I ended the Green New Scam and abolished the EV mandate at the federal level. We abolished it, which is basically that everybody will be driving an electric car within a very short period of time. Now we know why Elon doesn't like me so much, which he does, actually. He does. And he never had a problem. It's very interesting. This is not something new. This has been there from day one, Speaker, right? We're going to abolish the EV mandate. And Elon still endorsed me because, honestly, he never, ever spoke to me about that. And I used to say, I'm amazed that he's endorsing me because that can't be good for him. I'm abolishing the EV mandate. And I once asked him about it. You never talked to me about that. He said, well, as long as it's happening to everybody, I'll be able to compete. It was a very interesting answer. I thought it was a very honest answer, to be honest with you. And I talked about it, that incredible, you would have thought he would have been, from day one, you got to make sure you don't do the EV mandate, the abolishing, and never did. Very honest in that sense. And he did say to me, I actually asked him because it was like really strange how I'm with him. He's very, a friend of mine, and he makes electric cars, and we're saying you're not going to be able to make electric cars, or you're not going to be forced to make all of those cars. You can make them, but it'll be by the market, judged by the market. And that's what he said. He said, as long as I'm on the same plane as everybody else, we're going to do good. We make a better product. I said, that's very cool. That's very cool. That was my answer. After that, he got a little bit strange, but I don't know why, over much smaller things than that. As part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, we'll also further slash the funding for the Green New Scam. As you know, it's the greatest scam in history, saving American taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars. The windmills are killing our country, by the way. The fields are littered with them, junk. They're littered with them. And they get older, and they get rusty, and they get bad, and they get... This is other countries also. It's the greatest scam in history. It's the most expensive energy you can buy. They're ugly. A friend of mine comes from Minnesota. He's been in New York. He hit it big. He's a very successful guy, actually. And he wanted to go back see his mother, who's not well. And he went back to Minnesota. Hasn't been back there in 20 years. And he said, it's unbelievable what happened. He said, I'm driving down a highway and up a certain road, and the most beautiful fields. I remember them so well. And I was so looking forward to seeing them again. And I looked at them, and they had windmills all over them, these horrible, horrible structures. He's a very smart guy, this guy. He said, these ugly, horrible things. And he said, it was so bad, I actually drove back to see it because I couldn't believe it. Before I even got to my mother, I drove back. I said, how much do you like your mother? But no, it hurt him to see it. He said, I looked at this field that was one of the most beautiful places in my own mind and imagination that I've ever seen. And I said, it's littered with this garbage. It looked like a junkyard, he said. And some, then you get different manufacturers, and they don't look alike, and they're not painted alike, different colors. You have, even if they're white, one's a beigey white, one's a darker white, one's a lighter white. And then they start to rust after 4 or 5 years. And then they start to wear out, and nobody takes them because you're not allowed to bury the propellers, the props, right? You can't bury the props for some reason. I don't know why, but they say that you can't bury a certain type of fiber, and if it goes in the ground, we're all going to die. It's what bullshit this is, okay? They can't bury. So what they do is they leave them up. If you go to Palm Springs, California, take a look. You go into this beautiful community. Before you go, it's like you're riding through a junkyard. Windmills all over the place. Tall ones, short ones, dead ones. They're all dead. Some are hanging over by a thread. They never take them down. They just leave them there, and they start to rust. It's one of the greatest scams, and it's also the most expensive energy. And the environmentalists say, oh, we love wind. It sounds so good, but it's a horrible thing. Environmentally, it's a horrible thing. I say that to you. It's wind, and we are going to have virtually one mandate we have. We're going to natural gas, nuclear. Nuclear, we just had a big signing with nuclear, making it easier, safer and better. It's really, I would say, probably more than any other form of energy that's come about. It's been amazing what's been done. It's very safe, very good, and very inexpensive. But we're not going to let windmills get built because we're not going to destroy our country any further than it's already been destroyed. You go and look at these beautiful plains and valleys, and they're loaded up with this garbage that gets worse and worse looking with time. It starts when the rust comes. 4.5 years, it starts to rust. And it's very expensive to paint them. So they don't paint them, and they're horrible. What's happened is horrible. So we're not going to approve windmills unless something happens that's an emergency. I guess it could happen. But we're not doing any of them. I hope the Senate will soon pass a bill the House can quickly approve and get to my desk by the 4th of July. We'll have this done. And to further defend our auto workers, I imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles. Investment in American auto manufacturing is surging because of it. They have Mercedes all over. They pay 25% if they don't make the car in the United States. And because of that, and this could have been done long before Trump, this could have been done by any one of the presidents. I did it with China. The reason you don't have Chinese cars here is because I imposed it my last term. I actually asked the question. I said, do we have any Chinese cars here? No. Why? Because you imposed a 25 or 27.5% tariff on Chinese cars. So they're not coming here, but they are going to Europe all over the place. But I love China. We just made a deal, and I respect President Xi a lot. And we made a deal that's good for both countries. The deal we made with China, good for both countries. Going to be a lot of money made, and it's going to ultimately open up China, which is the ultimate thing. And I'm going to be working with President Xi. We had a long talk about it. And that's going to be good for China. It's going to be good for us. But we're going to be opening up China. That's bigger than what we signed. And I think had we not signed it, that wouldn't be happening. It's going to happen. It's going to happen fairly soon. But to further defend our auto workers, I imposed this 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles and investment in American manufacturing and auto manufacturing. All manufacturing is surging. And I might go up with that tariff in the not-too-distant future. The higher you go, the more likely it is they build a plant here. Ford has just announced that it's going to invest $500 million in some of the things involved in what we just did. General Motors is going to spend $4 billion. They just announced that yesterday. Stellantis announced that it's going to reopen its Belvidere assembly plant. That's good. I know the plant very well. Had a lot of problems. They're going to spend $5 billion. And Hyundai announced that it will invest $21 billion in America. They wouldn't have invested 10 cents if we didn't have tariffs. including for manufacturing American steel, which is doing great. American steel is doing great now because of what we did. You wouldn't have, if I didn't put tariffs on steel, they were dumping steel. China and a lot of other countries were dumping steel in our country. Garbage steel, dirty steel, bad steel, not structurally sound steel, real garbage, but it was still there, lots of it. And if I didn't put tariffs, I put 25 and 50% tariffs on steel, right? John James would put tariffs on steel, and we were doing great with steel. Now we're really doing great. Big investments being made in Pennsylvania. You've been reading about it. They're going to spend $17 billion on U.S. steel. And all the steel workers wanted it. And we have a golden stock. We have a golden share, which I control or President controls. Now, I'm a little concerned whoever the president might be, but that gives you total control. It's 51% ownership by Americans. And we have a company, a great company, Nippon. They're coming in from Japan. They're going to spend $17 billion. And somebody said, well, what happens if it doesn't work out? I said, they spent $17 billion. We can't put it on a trailer and drive it to Japan. This is a steel mill. You know, some businesses you can move. You move your office, and that's where the business is. With this business, they're spending think of that, $17 billion. They're going to have them all over the country. I want to introduce several of the great Americans representing the millions of people whose livelihoods we're saving with today's action. I just can't tell you how incredible this action is, because nobody thought. This was one that I wasn't so, I would have rather had it than almost anything, but I was told by everybody, except that guy right there, that you couldn't get it. Bill Kent runs a chain of family-owned convenience stores that opened in West Texas in 1957, known as Kent Quick. And Bill, if you could come up and say a few words about what the signing means to you, please.
Wow, you're probably wondering why I've called you all here today, right? What a great day. From my perspective, I'm in the convenience store and petroleum marketing business, and what this does is it gives us freedom. It gives the consumers freedom to pick what kind of car they want, but more importantly for us, it gives us the ability to plan going forward, because with mandates, we were forced to have to look at putting in infrastructure that frankly is extremely expensive and doesn't give you any return. So this allows us, it's going to free me up and our companies up to invest in what people want, in the cars they want, and it's a great day. So, Mr. President, Congress, thank you, Steve, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you.
And a friend of mine for a long time is John Hess. He's one of the top CEOs in the country, and he's now the CEO of Hess Corporation, one of the biggest oil producers, and he's a fantastic person with great knowledge of the subject matter. Can you say a few words, John? I see you in the audience. Come on, thanks.
Hi, I'm John Hess, and CEO of Hess Corporation, a proud producer of oil and gas in North Dakota and the Gulf of America. And so you all know, I was born in New Jersey, grew up in New York, and my father started our company by driving a secondhand oil truck. So, Mr. President, it's an honor to be before you today, and thank you for that. Mr. President, during your campaign, you made a commitment to the American people to repeal unworkable and costly mandates for cars and trucks and let the consumer choose what type of vehicle they drive. Today, with the bipartisan support of Congress, you're making good on that promise. I'd like to recognize Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, other members of Congress whose tireless efforts were critical to the outcome we're celebrating today. And a special thank you to Senator Capito for her leadership. This announcement today is about consumer choice and affordability for American families. It's also about making our country auto industry more competitive, Mr. President, and you said that very eloquently. As you know, Mr. President, one-size-fits-all policies like those adopted in California do not work. America, in every state, every American should be able to choose what they want to drive, not the government. We as a country would be basically leaning into our competitive advantage with this repeal on oil and gas. Oil and gas are a strategic industry for our country, underpinning energy dominance, economic prosperity, and national security. We are truly energy independent. So, Mr. President, on behalf of Hess Corporation, on behalf of the oil and gas industry, and every family across our country, thank you for your courageous leadership and your commitment to consumer choice and energy affordability. Thank you very much.
Very respected guy. The California EV mandates would also have devastated our nation's incredible truck drivers and the trucking industry, and I gave you a little bit of a rundown on that. But a diesel-powered semi-truck can drive from Reno, Nevada. I'll give you some other locations. Nevada to Los Angeles, California, and back on a single tank of diesel oil, diesel fuel, but the same exact journey would require an electric truck driver to stop also 6 times at recharging stations, adding an estimated 9 hours to the trip. I don't know too much about the trucking industry, but this is not sounding good. Here to discuss a little bit about the trucking industry, Gina Jones. And Gina, a real expert on trucks, I can tell you that. She's going to come up and tell us about trucks. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, members and Congress. The trucking industry has America's back, and we are grateful that a president and the administration that have our back, too. Today, trucks are 99% cleaner than a generation ago. We need great partners in government to continue that process. We cannot allow one state's regulations to disrupt our entire nation's supply chain. Allowing California to do so would have negativity impacted the hundreds and thousands of truck drivers who deliver critical goods across the country each and every day. In order to deliver for American families and businesses, we need realistic national standards. With the signing of this resolution, Mr. President, you have delivered the leadership that trucking industries need. Promises made, promises kept. On behalf of the 8.5 million Americans who work throughout the trucking industry, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great job. So just to wrap it up, I say under the Trump administration, we will restore the full strength, might, and glory of the American auto and trucking industry. We'll protect our truck drivers, auto workers, small business people, and manufacturers all over our country, and actually all over the world, and that's okay too. They'll be doing a product that works, a product that's much more efficient, that's better, it's much better, less expensive, and we'll put affordable energy and affordable car ownership back on the center of the American dream as we make America great again, and that's what's happening. We're making America great. You know, when I went over to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, just a couple of weeks ago, the leaders of those countries, and they're very smart people, they said, you know, you've made in a short period of time America the hottest nation in the world. It's the hottest you're the only one we talk about now. And 6 months ago, it was a laughingstock. They said that to me, those words. It was a laughingstock, and it was an absolute laughingstock. We've got the hottest nation right now in the whole world, and the numbers are reflecting it too. So I just think it's great. And what I'll do is I'll sign this, then we can take a couple of questions if you want. And we will be finished, and you're going to go off, and you're going to build the most beautiful automobiles for 20% less money. And I want to thank you, man. You have done some job. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody. You guys want to come up here? Come on, sit around it.
So while President Trump is getting ready to sign this, I just want to tell you, I've been monitoring the feeds out there. The Democrats have completely lost it. Everything I said earlier in the show is now being underscored. These people are crazy. Absolutely flipping bat poop crazy.
That's for you. Keep that mic. You know, that pen was so good, give it back to me.
I'll take it.
That was a good one. No, I'll sign all three of them, because you never know what you get with the new one. Number 2. Very steady hand. It's very important. Very steady.
So after President Trump signs these things, he's going to have about a 25-minute press conference where he's going to take questions. And then when he's done or answering those questions, I'll show you what the Democrats are up to.
In fact, lower prices, better cars, and choice. Sense. You can say choice. We have choice for education, and you have choice for cars now, right? Common sense is right. You're right. Common sense is right. Okay, now I can give you the pen. And I'll give you these. Shelley? Congratulations,
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, you'll take these. Pass these around, fellas. Where's John James from his father? Oh, yeah. You have one, John?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Pass them around. Okay, everybody. There's a few extra. You're going to take them and give them to someone who thinks you okay? Go ahead, please. All right. Brian, yeah, please.
Yes, sir. I have some very close friends who run some of the largest auto dealerships in Southern California, Rustack Automotive Group.
Good.
Their message to you, they're 100% behind you right now. They know they're going through some soft sales period.
It's true.
They're in it for the long haul. What's your message to thousands of auto dealerships across this country that are kind of navigating through this tariff?
Yeah, they're going to do better than ever before. They're going to sell cars in America at levels that they've never even thought of before. And they're going to make more money than they ever made before. It's going to be great. They're going to be selling a better car, too. It's going to be a better product.
And they're behind you 100%.
I know. I know that. They have been behind me, right? They knew it was right. They've been asking for this for 25, 30 years, in all fairness. No, they're very happy. I told you the Auto Workers Union, we got tremendous votes. But they like me today even better than they did on Election Day on November 5th, because they see the results now. They're all happening. And yeah, and they have plants moving in, Brian. A lot of plants are moving in. Thank you very much for that question. Yeah.
Was Governor Gavin Newsom trying to kill the auto industry then?
Oh, he was killing the auto industry. I don't think he knew it. I think he's a guy who, he's just got a faulty thought process. You look at that train, the train is the most, I've seen people, stupid people with cost overruns for years. I've watched where something would cost twice as much or 3 times. But this thing is costing 20 times more. It's the most incredible disaster I've ever seen. That's one. The cars are just as bad. Everything's bad. And now you have this situation. So his own sheriff, who's a good man, by the way, said 2 days ago or 3 days ago that we could not have done this without the military. They were going to take over this whole, they couldn't have done it. Now today they got him to change his tune. He said, oh, I think we could have handled it. You know, it's so sad. He was so honest. I was using his quote all over the place and they got him to change. But he knows. Los Angeles would be right now burning to the ground just like the houses burned to the ground. It's so sad what's going on in Los Angeles. Think of it. They had a fire that should have never had because they should have listened to me in the water. Eventually, we broke in and we had the water come down from the Pacific Northwest. I could show you pictures now with the half pipes, the big half pipes coming all the way down California. Water, so much water. They don't have any droughts. They don't have any. They have so much water. They sent it all out to the Pacific Ocean for 20 years. So ridiculous. And we got them to take it now. But what they do and what they're doing, this is a big problem. And what they really want to do is keep criminals because they're trying to protect criminals. Sanctuary cities are a disaster in this country. And most of the voters don't want them. Politicians like them for whatever reason, but I think the politicians are wrong. That's why we won in such a convincing fashion. We won all 7 swing states. We won by millions of votes. We won 2,750 districts as opposed to 505. That's why when you look at the map, it's almost all red. It's got 2 little blue stripes on each side of it. It's almost all red. But now you have to... I always got along with Gavin. I like Gavin. I've liked him, always. He said I never called him. You know, they asked him a question on Fox, I guess. I never spoke to him. He doesn't remember the call. He doesn't remember. I never spoke. And then I produced a phone call. I had it. It took me about 2 minutes. I said, well, here's the call. It lasted 16 minutes and 4 seconds. And it was at 12:30 in the evening. I actually made a call, didn't pick up. I called him a second time, and he picked up. And I told him, I said, you have to get your ass in gear because you're going to have a problem there. And he would have. If we didn't bring the military in, he would have had, you would have right now something. And I went through it because I follow the rules 100%. And I watched in Minnesota where you have the man who ran for vice president of the United States. Fortunately, he was a disaster. But he wouldn't call in the National Guard. And I eventually called in the National Guard, but it was seven days late. I said, I'll never do that again. I'm never going to, if I see problems brewing, if they're not going to do the problem, I'm not going to wait 2 weeks. Because that city, Minneapolis, burned down. If you remember the CNN anchor, he was standing there saying, yes, this is a peaceful rally. And behind him, the entire city was on fire. It looked like World War II. And I appreciate the question. Please.
Sir, Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you.
2 questions. First, the terrible, horrific plane crash in India today. I'm sure you saw the images on TV. Your reaction to that first, and will you speak to Prime Minister Modi?
The plane crash was terrible. I've already told them anything we can do. It's a big country, a strong country. They'll handle it, I'm sure. But I let them know that anything we can do, we'll be over there immediately. But it was a horrific crash. It looks like most are gone. They actually maybe have a couple survivors, which is just heard. But that was a horrible crash. Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea what it might be. I gave him a couple of pointers. I said, maybe you look at this or that. You know, we saw the plane. It looked like it was flying pretty well. It didn't look like there was an explosion. It just looked like the engines maybe lost power. But boy, that is a terrible crash. It's one of the worst in aviation history. Yeah, second.
How confident are you, sir, that conflict with Iran can be avoided?
Well, I'd love to avoid the conflict. Iran's going to have to negotiate a little bit tougher, meaning they're going to have to give us some things that they're not willing to give us right now. I'm the last person. I've kept us out of wars. We defeated ISIS completely, 100%, and I haven't had it's peace through strength. I believe in peace through strength. We have the greatest military in the world. I rebuilt the military, as you remember, for 4 years. I rebuilt the military, and then we gave a chunk of it away, but it was still peanuts. It was a lot, but it was peanuts compared to what we rebuilt. Gave it to Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our country with the whole withdrawal, the way they withdrew was very embarrassing. But we rebuilt the military. We have the greatest, strongest military. We defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. It was told to be 5 years. It was going to take 5 years, anywhere from 4 to 5 years. We did it in 4 weeks, with, by the way, headed by the general who's now the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's why he's there. He said it would take 4 weeks, and he did it in 4 weeks. He did actually a little bit faster. So we have a great country, and we're going to keep it that way. And when it comes to Los Angeles or other cities, if we see other cities are gearing up, and these people are agitators, they're paid, they're professionals, they're insurrectionists, they're troublemakers, they're all of those things, but I believe they're paid, and we're going to find out through Pam Bondi and her great staff, her great people at Justice, who they are. And Mike, I think you're doing some investigations in that in Congress, but we're going to find out who they are, because they're really, I think what they're doing is unbelievably illegal. Just one thing, so they took the bricks away from people. They're walking in with satchels of bricks. Now, why do you have bricks? You have bricks because you throw bricks. They're very potent. If they hit you, they kill you. And they took them away. The military took them away. They saw him, what the hell is this? The guy could hardly carry him. Many bricks. He's a strong guy, couldn't carry him. And they saw that, and they took him away. Then they found others with bricks. But they're ingenious. They also brought hammers along, very heavy hammers. And I saw them pounding the curb and pounding the sidewalk. And it was like a military operation. This guy's pounding strong, boom, big shots. And it was breaking up granite, the granite curbs. And the granite was breaking up, and the concrete was breaking up. And there was lines of people standing there, and they're handing him. And then he stopped handing him. They just went down and picked him up. It was so professional. I said, that's a professional organization. This is not like people at random. This guy's breaking up because they couldn't use the bricks. So who would think of this even? Did a lot of damage. A lot of curbs are broken. A lot of sidewalks broken. But I never saw that before. That's one I haven't seen. I thought I saw it all. And they have it on tape. And with that, people get killed. You know, they go to the bridges and they drop the concrete off the top of the bridge with a car coming along at 70 miles an hour, and the person dies. And we had a lot of car problems. You saw that. They were all over the road. They were littered all over the road, where the cars got stopped by concrete going through the front windshield. These are bad people. If we didn't go, Los Angeles right now would be on fire. It would be a disaster. And we stopped it. And last night was very good. Nobody showed up. You know why they didn't show up? Because we were there. If it was just the police, because the police are great. I know those police, they're great, but they're told not to do anything. They're not allowed to act. Thank you. Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary. You know, I stopped a war between India and Pakistan. And I stopped it with trade. I don't think I've ever seen a story written about it, but it was pretty cool. They were getting ready. Pakistan was their turn to hit, and eventually they're going to go nuclear. And I stopped it. I called each. I respect each leader greatly. I know them. And I spoke to them, and I talked about trade. I said, but you're not trading with us if you're going to go to war, if you're going to start throwing nuclear weapons around. And I said it to both of them, and they were both unbelievable, actually. They understood it exactly. They stopped. I stopped that war with phone calls and trade. And India's here right now negotiating a trade deal, and Pakistan's coming, I think, next week. And I'm very proud of that. Nobody died. Nobody, the nuclear weapons, they each have very severe, very, very substantial numbers of nuclear weapons. And I think we should get some credit for that. You know, the whole Republican Party should, because that's their mindset. Please. Yes, ma'am. What? Look, I've always been in favor of students coming in from other countries. That includes China. And we have 500,000 Chinese students coming in. I've always been in favor of it. Does it mean that you have to watch people? Yeah, you have to watch students, but you have to watch other people also. I've always been strongly in favor of it. I think it's a great thing. It's also, it's good for our schools. It's good for, I think it's good for our country. I'm also in favor of having them stay. I've been in favor of letting them stay. If you get educated for 4 years, you're willing to get educated for 4 years. I like people being able to stay. You know, they have some great students. You have some, you know, these are Republicans clapping, you know, because a lot of Republicans don't like that idea. I happen to like it. I'm a real Republican, believe it or not. But I like the idea. They go 4 years. To me, that's almost like, you know, just buying your way in a very legitimate way. And, you know, you have stories where Apple wants to hire somebody and they can't hire him because he can't stay. He went to a great school. He finished first in his class. They made him a big offer, and everything's done, but he has no idea whether or not he's going to be able to stay. And I'm all for making sure that people like that can go to work for all of our great companies. And you know what they do? They go back to their country, and there are stories that are all over the place. They go back to their company and they start a company just like they were going to start here. They end up starting it in China or India or someplace else, and now they're among the richest people in the world. They've got thousands and thousands of employees that make it great. This is happening all the time because they're not allowed to stay, and I think we'll probably end up doing something about that, right? I think. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You in the blue, please. Light blue.
Thank you, Mr. President. How close are you to setback between Ukraine and Russia? We see a very bad escalation. Are you going to leave it in the hands of the Europeans?
I'm very close to the situation. I'm very disappointed in Russia, but I'm disappointed in Ukraine also because I think deals could have been made. And, you know, we're losing 5,000, 6,000 people a week, soldiers mostly, but also people living in towns because they're getting hit by missiles again. How'd you like to live in a building and you think a missile has a good chance of hitting your building during the evening? It's horrible. Must be horrible to live like that. But, I mean, we'll get it, but it's, I'm disappointed that it's not done. We did great with India and Pakistan. We did very good with Israel. I thought, look, October 7th was a disaster. People forget, you know, they like to forget. That was a horrible thing. But, you know, none of these things would have happened if I were president. If I were president, none of it would have happened. You wouldn't have the Israel problem. Iran was broke. They had no money. We had big sanctions on them. Biden immediately let them get rich, the $300 billion they have right now. But they had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah. They had no money for anything. It was perfect. We wouldn't have had inflation that was caused by oil, Chris. The oil price went through the roof. It was also caused by their spending, but it was caused more by oil than anything else. The oil went so high, got close to $100 a barrel. And that also kept the war going with Putin, because at $100 a barrel, that was a big money-making experience. But now it's down to where it's not so good for them anymore. No, it's very important to get that solved. That's a bloodbath. That's a terrible bloodbath that's going on. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Following up your question, answer on India and Pakistan for stopping the war between them. India says that they cannot talk to Pakistan unless Pakistan takes actions against terrorists.
We're going to get those two getting together, you know. I told them, India and Pakistan, they've had a long time rivalry over Kashmir. And I said, I can solve anything. I'll be your arbitrator. I will be your arbitrator. I can solve anything. And I started the first question, how long has it been going on? They said, 2,000 years. I said, oh, that's all right. Maybe I'll take it. When I heard 2,000 years, I said, maybe I'll have John Hessel.
That's not me talking in the background. Sounds like there's somebody close to the microphone, so it's not me whispering. Just to let you know.
What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else, and then you're supposed to throw them out, and you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers, and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
And my other question about the Middle East, as the Israelis apparently gear up for some kind of an attack, a possible attack on Iran, are you trying to talk Netanyahu out of doing that, or are you so against Iran having a nuclear weapon that you're okay, he does his thing because it is not an American war?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. Look, I want to have an agreement with Iran. We're fairly close to an agreement. We are fairly close to a pretty good agreement. It's got to be better than pretty good, though, but it's got to be, I'd much prefer an agreement. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in because I think I would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it. But we've had very good discussions with Iran. Whether or not we get there, I can't tell you, but it'll happen soon. I say this, Peter, very strongly. They can't have, whether it's going in or not going in, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I'd prefer the more friendly path.
And can you tell us what the Israelis told you that made you start to evacuate the dependents of servicemen and women who are stationed in the Middle East?
They didn't tell me anything, but I said, look, there's a chance of massive conflict. We have a lot of American people in this area, and I said, we got to tell them to get out because something could happen soon. And I don't want to be the one that didn't give any warning and missiles are flying into their buildings. It's possible. So I had to do it. I had the choice. Do I do it or not? Doing it has its downside, but it also has its upside, like you're going to save a lot of lives if it should happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Right? Thank you.
Mr. President, for Americans that are coming to Washington on Saturday for the military parade,
It's going to be a great day.
What would you like folks to take away from that day? What would you hope that they would remember? And also, Mr.
President, our country is, and how strong our military is. We have the strongest military in the world. It's very interesting. 3 weeks ago, it was the end of world anniversary, end of World War II, and I called France and Macron, who's a good man. I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "We're celebrating World War II, our victory." I said, "Your victory? Your victory? Tell me about that." And then I called somebody else, and I happened to speak to President Putin at the time. Now, in all fairness to him, he lost 51 million people, and he did fight. Russia fought. Sort of interesting, isn't it? He fought with us in World War II, and everybody hates him. And Germany and Japan, they're fine. Someday somebody will explain that, but I like Germany and Japan too. But Putin is a little confused by that, He said, we lost 51 million people, and we were your ally. And now everybody hates Russia, and they love Germany and Japan. I said, let's explain that sometime, okay? But it's a strange world. But I will say this, look, I want them to go away saying how great our country is and how great our military is. And I was making all these calls, and for some reason I spoke to like 4 different places. Sir, are you celebrating? And I said, we won World War II and World War I, right? We won them. And yet we're the only country that doesn't celebrate. Everybody's celebrating except us. And I said, we should celebrate too.
Several No Kings protests planned across the country on Saturday as well. What are your thoughts on those?
What do they call No Kings?
No Kings.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off, and after years we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir,
go ahead.
Mr. President, sir, you made a lengthy posting today on Truth Social about Senator Rand Paul. Do you expect to see him at the picnic tonight, sir?
I do. I look forward to seeing him, actually. I like him. He's the hardest vote in the history of the U.S. Senate to get. Probably won't get him. But he's a very tough vote. I mean, he's a very tough vote. He's always been a friend of mine. You know, I endorsed him and got him elected. I got him elected twice. But I don't think he understands how great this bill is. This is a great bill. No tax on tips, no tax on, the Social Security payments. It's unbelievable what happens. No tax on overtime. You work overtime, no more tax. It's so, those are big, but they're minor compared to the big things. Taxes reduced. And let's look at the other side. If it doesn't get approved, a 68% tax increase, 68%, including the fact that the Trump tax cuts kick in. But it's a 68% tax increase and many other bad things. I don't even want to, some of them are so bad I don't even want to talk about them. I think it's one of the greatest bills we'll ever pass in this country. And I think that Leader Thune and this gentleman right here, what he's gone through on this with, we started off with a majority of 1. Now I guess we have 7. So it's like easier, but it's really sort of 3. It's 7, but it really equates to 3, right? And we have great support. I mean, I can't tell you, I can't guarantee, but when you have a majority of essentially 3, where you can't lose anything more than 3 votes, and you get it passed, it's pretty amazing. And I think it's going to haunt the Democrats because most of the bill is common sense. It's tax cuts, it's border wall funding, it's military funding properly spent. It's all things that are like common sense. They're all good. There's nothing tricky about it. It's basic stuff. And we don't intend on getting one, think of it, not one Democrat vote in the House. Mike, not one. Maybe somebody will come along. I don't know how they can run for office. So many different things. We're gonna, very important, Medicare and Medicaid are gonna be strengthened, not hurt. They're using fake narrative. No, they're gonna be strengthened. We're gonna strengthen them. They're gonna destroy them because under their policies, Medicare and Medicaid go away. Social Security under them is gonna be devastated. With us, it's gonna be kept, but much stronger than before. And very interestingly, I saw this and I proved it because for 4 years, I never hurt Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. I've already been there. But they're going to destroy Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. They're going to wipe them out, in my opinion, because their policies are so bad, the country will have no money to pay for them. We're going to make them stronger than ever before. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, everybody. So that was President Trump from earlier this morning talking about the new bill striking electric vehicles and a whole bunch more. I got a whole lot to go with you. A whole lot of news is happening. SB keeps hitting me. Ashley keeps hitting me. I'm looking at stuff. So I'm going to have to go chronologically with what I'm going to show you next. I got this whole Alex Padilla thing lined up. And I got a lot of the whining, not all of it, because all of it would take us another couple hours. But I do have some of the big whiners lined up as well. So what I'm going to do is start from the very top all over again, show you exactly what happened, and then we'll start following up with the people who were complaining. And there were a whole bunch of them. Say, listen, if you guys are seeing all this crazy stuff, and you're seeing what may be happening in Israel, and Iran, and of course Russia and Ukraine, and you want some stability, like I told my grandson over the weekend or last couple days, silver and gold. Gold and silver. However you want to look at it, these things should be added to your portfolio, and they aren't normally a speculative investment. They're usually something that you can protect and make sure you have just in case poop hits the fan. But it's becoming somewhat speculative because of what's going on with the Federal Reserve and the debt and everything else. So if you are in a position, I would advise you something that's not going to be worth zero anytime ever. Lear Capital. We're in a very volatile time right now. There's plenty of financial uncertainty. Now is not the time to be speculative. And I'm also speaking from a personal perspective. I'm buying income-producing real estate, and I'm buying gold and silver. A lot of people don't know the difference between the economy and the stock market. And too many people listen to the news and social media. That'll get you in trouble. Let's face it. It's obvious that a lot of people have an agenda they're not telling you about. Right now, your best bet is stability. And that means you might need to build a hedge against global volatility. May I recommend gold and silver to you? Real gold and real silver. Not paper, not certificates. Actual gold and silver. What gold and silver can give you is absolute peace of mind. A stock is only as good as the company behind it. It's merely a piece of paper. One of the things I can tell you is that many people are finding out the hard way that some of their investments were built on quicksand. Gold will never be worth zero. Silver will never be worth zero. If you want to calm some of your fears, give my friends at Lear Capital a call today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. Just so you know, Lear Capital has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $5 billion in trusted transactions. And Lear is the only gold company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So go to learberry.com. If you want peace of mind, give my friends at Lear Capital a call at 800-601-5430. Or look down here below and go to learberry.com. And don't forget to ask about getting up to $15,000 in free gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't wait. Do it now. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Be safe. I just want to say thank you to the Fanfare community. And if you're new here, I'd like to take a moment and welcome you. If you watch my videos, you've probably realized at this point that this isn't your usual podcast. The difference is that every single day, I try to make this show an open conversation amongst friends. You see, I believe that speaking to friends, here and in your own circle offline, is the best way to push back against all the lies being told by the Democrats and the media. I encourage people in this community to welcome each other, and in doing so, become a source of support for those seeking to unplug from the matrix. If you'd like to communicate on a deeper level, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, but if you'd really like to surround yourself with like-minded patriots, join our free and private X group by going to fanfareshop.org/group. When you join this free group, a few things will happen. One, if you haven't used X before, you can use X without venturing into the sewer that it sometimes can be. Two, you can share content with friends that you meet here. 3, you will get notified every time I go live, so you can't count on YouTube notifications. And 4, and this might be most important, you get content that I can't share on YouTube or Rumble. So please take a moment and join our free and private X group. Just go to fanfareshop.org/group. Remember, it's members only. There are 16,000 plus people in that group right now, getting close to 17,000. To join our free and private members only X group, just go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so we're back. We're going to get through this and finish up, and then we're going to come back and have tonight's show. Won't be too much of a break. I'm going to, once we're done talking about Alex Padilla and his insanity, we're going to come back at 7:30, excuse me, for the second show, which is pretty much already done and in the can because of everything that's happened today. But I did want to take a second. And it's not, self-flagellation or trying to make me feel better. I just have a drive to thank you. Thank you very, very much. You can be watching so many different channels. You can be checking out so many different podcasts. And because of you, I think I put on a scroll, we're one of the top 100 podcasts in the entire United States. And that includes entertainment and sports and everything else. And we're basically, I think it's like in the top 10 or 15 of all news. And what's really interesting, this All right, I think I'm back. SP, do you see me? You see my big mug? Anyway. It takes there's like probably a 6 sec because music can't play right now because once I jump over. All right, I'm back. All right, bye. All right, so sorry about that. We had a power surge, one of those South Florida things. You can't do anything about it. I've got all kinds of battery backup, but what happens is the router goes down, and once the router goes down, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes before the router resets. We're reset for now. It looks like everything is fine. We're working. We're working 5 by 5. Luckily, we got through most of the show. Hope you guys stayed. I am still live. All right. So what I was saying before I was unceremoniously dumped. Let me just check a couple things. All right. Okay. What was I saying? What I was saying was thank you to you guys. Thank you very, very much. I was saying that you have a lot of opportunity to watch so many different things, and you guys choose to watch me, and I thank you very much. YouTube does this weekly podcast rankings. We showed up again in the top 100 of all podcasts, and we're probably about number 10 or 15, within 10 or 15 of the top news podcasts. And so this is based upon data that specifically comes from YouTube, not from any API or different source. So I like the fact that a lot of people you think are having huge numbers, well, those numbers really don't mean anything. This is actually from YouTube, and I'm not going to show all of it because I'm not going to embarrass people who aren't on this list, but you can look at yourself and one of the things, let me just fast forward down here. This week we came in at 68. And it's pretty interesting because we're ahead of Jon Stewart in the weekly show. We're ahead of, who else was down here? Bill O'Reilly and some of these guys. Bill O'Reilly down here. So I thank you. And if you guys want to look at this yourself, you can go to, let me put it on the screen because I'm not going to mention by name because I don't want anybody pissed off at me. But you can go to, hold on, let me write it here. What's it called? And you can see for yourself who's not on here. And I'm not going to cast aspersions on anybody, but if you'd like to look at this full list yourself and see, wow, where do some of your favorite podcasters, where do they show up? Or, wow, I didn't know that person wasn't even in the top 100. I thought that they got really big numbers. Numbers don't really mean anything to YouTube. Let me just explain something to you. This is very important. YouTube doesn't look at subscribers anymore. That's an obsolete vanity metric. YouTube doesn't look at views anymore. Another obsolete vanity metric. So when you're on a channel like, oh, they got tons of views, that don't mean jack diddly to YouTube. What YouTube finds most important is a term called watch time. How long are people actually watching? And that's how they're ranking this list here as they go through this list. And again, we end up being number 68 this week. But all these people, it's based upon how long people are watching, how long people stay and watch your show. That is what's most important to YouTube, and it's what's most important to me. How long do people actually watch? You guys watch quite a bit, and I thank you for that. And like I said, I'm not going to mention any names. You can probably check it for yourself and go, ooh, where's so-and-so? Now you know, as Paul Harvey would say. Now you know the rest of the story. All right, so anyway, let's go back to the top. When I say the top, let's look at what happened with Kristi Noem. All right, let's listen.
She told me she has hundreds of cases of people coming in asking for asylum. They go to their immigration check-in.
So my only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country, and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do.
Senator Alex Padilla, I have questions for the Secretary.
All right, so this guy is Senator Alex Padilla from California. And notice what happened here. And this is what the Democrats are relying on. This guy obviously dressed down. He's not in a suit. And what they're saying is he identified himself as Senator of the United States. And they decided they were going to throw out a Senator of the United States. Maybe because they don't expect a Senator of the United States to act like an idiot. And in the heat of a moment, having done security for celebrities myself back in my crazy days, I don't care who you are. You don't come running up to the stage. You don't come running up trying to just, hey, you know who I am? No. My job is to stop you. My job is to make sure you do not go past this point, and then we'll figure out who you are. You just don't come running in. And so that's exactly what he did. And then they're now trying to say, well, he identified himself. So I want you to listen as he runs into the room here and where he is when he supposedly identifies himself.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla.
All right, see right there?
I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen felony.
So he was already being restrained when he says, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. What Alex Padilla doesn't know is those guys who are charged with keeping her safe, they don't give a shit who you are. It's not their job to find out who you are. You're a senator in California where nobody knows you. Their job is to keep her safe. They don't care that you're a senator. Right now, I need to neutralize the threat. Well, I'm a senator. There's no threat. No, you're a threat. You are most definitely a threat. You're acting like a threat. How am I supposed... Oh, you're just a senator? Go ahead, run up there. Just go ahead. Yeah, it's fine. No, it doesn't work that way.
Criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been docked for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
Leave my hands. Go ahead. Behind my back.
All right. Cool. Okay, one hand. Lay flat. Lay flat. Other hand, sir.
You see, at that point, anyone, Maximus, I thought I heard somebody say Maximus was here. At that point, these guys have every single right to get home tonight as well. They don't know who the hell you are. And at that point, it doesn't matter who the hell you are. At that point, you are an assailant, potentially. You are going after the Director of Homeland Security. And so we're going to put you on your knees. We're going to handcuff you. And then we'll find out who you are. The Democrats are saying, hey, he identified himself. You should have just moved.
Other hand. There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here per FBI, right?
Without objection. Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on. I yield the floor.
All right, so Chucky runs out and goes, we need apology, Senator, apology. We need to know what's going on. So let me get the next one in order here for you. Let's see, who is this one? This one is, all right, so this is Alex himself. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Senator Alex Padilla. So you guys have some questions. I'm going to read a brief statement. I will not be taking questions, but allow me to read my statement.
What a wuss. I will read a prepared statement, but I will not be taking questions. What kind of limp-wristed bull crap is that? You just tried to storm into an interview, but now you got no... Yeah. I'm not taking any questions. No, sorry.
I'm here in Los Angeles today, and I was here in the federal building, in the conference room, awaiting a scheduled briefing from federal officials as part of my responsibility as a senator to provide oversight and accountability. While I was waiting for the briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference a couple of doors down the hall. Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues, have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to...
So he's saying I haven't been treated like a senator, and all he's doing is making what? An excuse for what he has done. See, that's all the Democrats can do. I was provoked. Kristi Noem wasn't getting back to me. I have no personal accountability. I have no control over my own body. It just happened because it was her fault. She wouldn't get back to me. That's what they're saying about the protesters / rioters. They're being provoked. It's Trump's fault. And right there, he could have just said, I lost my temper. Nope, it's her fault.
Our inquiries. And so I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question.
I don't know if he doesn't realize there's video. I was just there to ask a question. No, you weren't, because you came running into the room. So number one, your position doesn't match what you say. You were not just sitting there ready to ask a question. You definitely weren't peaceful. And there's video of it.
I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground. And I was handcuffed.
Okay. You left out a whole bunch of stuff, bro, that we all can see on video. You don't get wrestled to the ground, and you don't get manhandled like that if you're not being in a position where you look like you need to be manhandled. If you had just calmly walked in and just raised your hand from the back of the room, maybe she would have called on you. But they euphemize everything. Oh, I was just there to ask a question. And then all of a sudden, I was just there to ask a question. And then all of a sudden, these guys all jumped on me and handcuffed me.
I was not arrested. I was not detained. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country.
The dude is crying. You got bum. He tried to bum rush your way in. You got dealt with. You effed around. You found out. Then they threw you down and handcuffed you. You're lucky you didn't get tased. And if I did see them doing something like that, I don't have to imagine. I would expect that to happen. If this is how they treat a United States Senator, oh, so are you above the law? I thought you had posted many, many times on X, no one is above the law. No one. Yeah, it's me, a United States Senator. Well, maybe a United States Senator shouldn't act like a, complete tool. This is Kristi Noem talking about it.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you with us today. We all saw what happened in the video of that room when he was physically taken out, and you heard just now his response, and I understand you had a personal conversation with him as well. So what do you want to say about all of this?
You know, what I would say is we were conducting a press conference to update everyone on the enforcement actions that are ongoing to bring peace to the city of Los Angeles. And this man burst into the room, started lunging towards the podium, interrupting me and elevating his voice, and was stopped, did not identify himself, and was removed from the room. So as soon as he identified himself, appropriate actions were taken. But I would say that, I had a conversation with the senator after this. We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. He didn't say who he was, that until he was already had been lunging forward and people were trying to detain him for quite.
That's the key. That's what you're going to have to remember as you hear this narrative about he identified himself, and you did not identify yourself until such time as you were restrained. And then you expected those security people to know who you are, as if it matters at that point, and to just let you go. As if you can't arrest me. I can do whatever I want. This is what these people think. You saw that in New Jersey with the big black lady in the red and how she bum rushed her. You can't do this to me. That's my job. Guess what that guy's job was to do? Stop you.
Period of time, and that this, we're leaders, we're public servants, and if he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater. It's wrong, and it does a disservice to this country and the people who live here. So we sat down, had a conversation. We probably disagree on 90% of the topics, but we agreed to exchange phone numbers. We'll continue to talk and share information, and I think that's the way it should be in this country. I wish he would have acted that way in the beginning instead of creating a scene like this.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't have gotten what he's looking for. And what he's looking for is for all the Democrats now to come running to his aid. As you watch this next piece, 50 seconds, look at Adam Schiff's eyes and see if you don't see crazy demonic stuff coming out of this guy's face.
I just watched footage of our colleague, my California colleague, Senator Alex Padilla, being forcibly removed from a briefing by the Secretary of Homeland Security's staff. He went there to observe and to ask questions, and I watched with horror on this video, seeing these agents grab my colleague, my fellow senator from California, grab him, push him out of the hearing as he was identifying himself as a U.S. senator, bringing him.
There it is. They're going to keep saying that. He was identifying himself. He was just there doing his job. And I've told you many times as well, the reason why they do this is because their idiot constituency doesn't watch the other stuff. See, Adam Schiff, if he wanted to, could have said, here, let me show you the videotape. Nope. He was assaulted. Adam, I have a question. Why do you have a suit on, and why did he look like a thug? You guys had to vote on things today. You guys were in session. Why do you have a suit on, and why does your compadre look like somebody just came off the street? Yeah, theater is right.
Into a hallway, bring him down to the ground, bring his arms behind his back. I saw this happen to my colleague, and I am shocked by how far we have descended in the first 140 days of this administration.
Well, we don't care. I forgot. I got to make that cut. We don't care. We don't care. And here's another one of these nuts. Now, this couldn't have been choreographed.
Call it what it is, a disgraceful abuse of power. Senator Padilla was handcuffed and dragged out of for daring to ask a question. This wasn't a threat, it's dissent, and they crushed it with force. They're not keeping us safe, they're trying to silence us. We won't back down.
You see where this is headed, right? This is, they stopped the riot because of, you know, the curfew and everything else, and you can't wear a mask, so that they're seeing that getting tamped down, and so they have to ramp things up all over again, find some other way to get these nuts into the street, because they can't just let it go. We got to get out there in a fight, street, get in a fight, get in the street, get in a fight, whatever.
When Senator Padilla gets pushed, shoved, thrown to the handcuffed, because he is asking questions, because he is engaging in the very oversight that senators are supposed to engage in, then what we're really talking about here is a Trump administration that just wants to shut down the ordinary functions of government. Look, I do a lot of oversight myself. I ask a lot of questions because that's how it works in a democracy. We use our words to hold people accountable. We don't use our fists. We don't shove. We don't try to knock people down. We use our words. That's what oversight is all about. And that's what I want to go to the floor of the Senate to talk about. I think it is time for every senator, every member of Congress, Democrat or Republican, to stand up and say what Donald Trump has done is wrong.
You smell that? I do. Fear. Any predatory animal can smell that. It's fear. They've got nothing. There's nothing on the Democratic side of the rooms in terms of the Senate. There's nothing. And so now all they're trying to do is gin stuff up. There's nothing they can do. And this, like she said, it's 140 days in. This is it. This is all you got? Screaming and lying? Let's look at another one.
Now, I understand that my Republican colleagues are going to need some time to gather the facts, but we already have a statement from the Department of Homeland Security that has accused Senator Padilla of being disrespectful, as if that is a rationalization for violence. Watch the video.
We did. So you're saying that there was violence against him? And you're telling us to watch the video. We're like, yeah, this guy was an idiot. Sorry.
Even if you believe that he was disrespectful, and given the times, that is certainly in the eye of the beholder, that never justifies what we saw on that video. Throwing anyone, never mind an elected representative of the people, to the ground to be handled.
Oh, never mind an elected representative of the people. See, we're a little bit different. Chris Murphy, I'd like to test out something. I wish I was in Washington right now. I wish I was in Washington because I would run right through security into the Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of the House where you are right now, run right at you and see what would happen. But then again, I'm not a senator. You're full of crap. Go ahead, try and bum rush your way into that chamber and try to run up to the microphone. But I just wanted to ask a question. See what would happen to you. I dare anybody to just try and bum rush their way into Congress and see what would happen.
Handcuffed. They say that he didn't identify who he was, and yet watch the video. He clearly states, I am Senator Alex Padilla.
So if I ran into where he's talking right now, and I said, I am Senator Hakeem Jeffries, maybe the people there would recognize Hakeem and say, well, no, you're a little bit too big to be Hakeem. And but what if I didn't know who Hakeem Jeffries was? What if I was just a new security guard? What if I was there just to stop anybody from trying to attack? You know, because it's a crazy thing going on right now. So I'm supposed to assume that that's, Senator Padilla.
They're going to spin this. But I'm begging my Republican colleagues, don't let them do it. Protect our ability as servants of the people to speak up for the people that we represent make sure that we do not normalize this kind of violence.
Wow.
Simply because
wow.
the White House doesn't agree with people who dissent. If this is how a United States senator can be treated, then none of us ultimately are immune. If this is how a United
You shouldn't be immune. My gosh, what makes you think, whether you're a senator, a congressional page, anybody, that you can charge the stage where the Secretary of Homeland Security is speaking? You can't do that with a sports player. Down here we've got the Stanley Cup going on. You think if they're having a interview after a game, I could rush in and say I want to ask him a question? You think if I go see the Dolphins, I can just rush into the podium? Hey, I'm a fan here. I have a booth upstairs. I need to ask Tua a question. No. Having done it, I can tell you. No, they don't tell you when you're running security or doing security. Like, listen, okay, you can do security and keep people from rushing the stage, but if they come in and say, you know, I'm a friend, I used to work with him, whatever, let them go. Of course not. Their argument is for idiots. Oh, so they stop the congressman or senator. I don't care who the hell you are. You present a threat. That's what security does. They neutralize threats, find out after what happened. That's my job. My job is to stop the threat and then worry about what happened after. So yes, Congressman Murphy, that is what will happen every single time. Expect it. You want to have a meeting? You call. You want to be at the press conference? You go and sit in the audience. You do not get preferential treatment just because you know who I am. I don't really give a shit who you are.
senator can be treated. None of our constituents are safe. This is a test for the country, but this is a test for the United States Senate as well. I yield the floor.
It's unbelievable. And I don't even know who this guy is.
Mr. President, I'm sure the American people right now are just starting to see what happened to the United States Senator from California, the senior senator from California, Alex Padilla. He's at a press conference in California where the Secretary of Homeland Security is, and he wants to ask some questions. With all this going on in California, look, I don't know what all happened, but federal agents took him down.
You should have ended right there. You look like a fool from every second here on out. I don't know what happened. Then why are you talking? If you don't have the information, why are you saying anything? Zip it, shut up, leave. You just made a fool of yourself.
Took down a United States senator that they're doing their job. Why aren't more people down here speaking up about this nonsense? This is ridiculous. How can these federal agents get away with this? Is the President of the United States telling folks to go down and start arresting United States senators, taking them down to the floor? Is that what we've come to? The executive branch doing this to our colleagues? This is a Democrat. What happens when it happens to a Republican? Will I hear from my Republican colleagues then to say, no, we should not do this, Mr. President? Back down, back off, you are wrong? Will someone here?
You're going to tell a president who got dragged through court for a year, who had the FBI storm his house and go through Melania's underwear drawer, you're telling him he needs to back down? Whew, these people have giant cojones.
Have the backbone to tell the President of the United States, you crossed the line. Stop it. I'm so disappointed. So disappointed. And as a Latino United States Senator, for this to happen to another Hispanic here, There's several of them.
Oh, it shouldn't happen to Latino Hispanic senators. So you've re-qualified it. You know, I don't care whether it's the white guys, and I really don't care if it's the black guys, but me, I'm a Latino Hispanic senator. Oh, especially for us. Why especially? Why the qualifying? Why did you take it another step? Instead of just being it's a Latino senator. Ooh, these people are exposing themselves.
That are Hispanics here, Democrats and Republicans. Speak up. When one of my predecessors was here, Dennis Chavez, there were places he could not eat in this town because of the color of his skin, because he was from a state called New Mexico.
Oh my God, when was that? In 55? They couldn't eat someplace because of the color of his skin. Was he chased by a German Shepherd too? Were they putting out water hoses at him? I mean, just the whole 9 yards. Did he have to go in the back door?
Are we going to use our voices? Are we better than this in the United States of America? Or are we going to show all the other folks in the world that choose to do this to the people that were duly elected by their people? No, just go arrest them, throw them down on their face, treat them like garbage. We're better than this in America, y'all. We got to speak up. I hope by tonight every Democrat and Republican member of this body has the courage to say something. This has gone too far. It's not right.
So he is right in that regard. I do hope the Republicans have the cojones to speak out. I hope every single one of you watching this have the cojones to speak out. Maybe not quite the way the Latino congressman thinks, but in support of those 4 or 5 guys who were doing nothing but their jobs. I don't care whether you're a Latino congressman. I don't care whether that was a Latino senator. What I care about are 5 guys who have every right to go home to their family just like you. Whose job, sole job. I got one job. One job, what's my one job? Protect her. That's it. Everything else, I don't really care. I'm not in politics. I've been hired. I've been put on this detail to make sure she's safe. Everything else, none of my business. Don't care who you are. Don't care if you're Latino. My thing is, I need to make sure she's safe. My job depends upon my ability to keep her safe. Period. End of story. Everything else we'll check out afterwards. We'll roll you over, do your fingerprints, try to figure out who you are. We'll do that afterwards. My job is to keep her safe. What you're saying is these guys shouldn't have kept her safe. These guys should have known that this was a Latino senator and allowed him to bum rush her. In what world does anybody think that's okay? Now, I want you to watch your ears here, because who is this? Rashida Tlaib. This. All right, the sound is kind of low, and I'm glad it was, because in the halls of Congress, as this bill was being voted on, one of these Democrats decided they're going to start screaming and telling the Republican to F it. Effing stop it. They didn't want the vote going forward, so they were screaming, effing stop it. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You see where we're descending here, right? We're descending very quickly. Excuse me. Hold on. Let me change that to the next one.
What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
That was Nancy Mace asking Governor Tim Walz in today's hearing a very simple question. What is a woman? I don't know if I understand. But you have women constituents, right? Yeah, and there's women who live in Minnesota, true? Yeah. What's a woman? I'm sorry, I don't know. Milkshake boy can't even define a woman. Crazy. All right, I got one more piece for you, and this is down here from my home territory. Actually, it's a little bit north of us in Brevard County, Florida. And it has nothing to do with what you've seen before, but it's why I told you it ain't gonna happen down here. All the craziness you see happening, it ain't gonna happen down here. And here's why.
So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at. Because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order.
Did I tell you how much I love living in Florida? I posted this yesterday, something that DeSantis said, and he said basically block the road down here and we're giving everybody authority to run you over. And people are like, really? They're just going to run people over? Yes. Don't do it. You see, there were some people on X who were kind of upset. That's a little harsh, isn't it? No. Get out the way. My gas pedal works really well. My wife's gas pedal works better than mine. Stop and interfere with our ability to get home. You won't be going home. And we have that courtesy of the governor. And so this is the sheriff up in Brevard County, which is south of Disney, a little bit north of here. It's like, throw a brick at us. We're going to tell your family where they can pick up your remains. That's called deterrence. That's called making sure you don't F around and have to find out for sure. That's Florida. You don't like it? Make your fifis hurt? Make your nipples all sore? Don't try nothing like stupid. There were actually people upset because I posted yesterday that Ron DeSantis said you could run people over. Oh my gosh. They're just protesting. Not here. Nope. Nuh-uh. No, sorry. You gotta go. And I don't feel bad about it because my wife's out there and she's by herself in her car and she needs to get home and there's a bunch of idiots surrounding the car, banging on the windows. Hit the gas pedal, baby. Whatever you drag home, we'll get the car fixed. You just need to get home. Okay. There's a couple guys attached to the bumper outside. They don't look too good. Look like raw meat. What should I do? Or I'll call someone to come pick them up. That's Florida. We have every right to stand our ground down here. We can do whatever we need to do to protect each other. See, California, they know that nothing can happen to them. The police look at people throwing bricks at them, and they can't do anything. And I loved hearing that because guess what? They mean it. You go ahead and throw a brick or a Molotov cocktail or something at one of these guys, and your family will indeed be coming to get your remains, whatever it looks like. Love that. Oh, also, before we close, wanted to show you this. The Trump Card website has seen 25,000 signups in just 15 hours of existence. The Trump Card, if you don't remember, was the thing. If you want to buy a card for $5 million, you can get to the front of the line at immigration. That's $125 billion. $125 billion in 15 hours. You know what we call that?
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Just too crazy. Just crazy. All right, so let me do super chats because I'm going to be back here in 2 hours. I've got Ann Vandersteel tonight. She should be on fire as well as she normally is. Again, she's going to be someone who's probably not going to be really friendly to some of the people you may like. She doesn't like what's going on with Pam Bondi. She doesn't like what's going on with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and she's not going to be afraid to tell you how she feels. So be careful if you show up tonight. Don't want to get your fee-fees hurt. All right, job for 9. He should have been doing his job and been in D.C. instead of attacking someone out there in Los Angeles. Exactly. Carolyn Pulliam, my husband and I are ready. Be ready. Natalie Carly, Barry, another day, another great broadcast. Thank you very much. G. Fisher, we will conduct the largest deportation operation in American history. He said it about 400 times, and we voted for it, period. Yes, if you didn't know that he was going to do it, then you were watching the wrong news. Got to see the Brevard County Sheriff of what's in store for the orcs if they get violent. Just played it. He has become a star. Absolutely. We need the names of the commies in Congress. I think SV had posted that. Beverly Litton retired last June. Initially went with an Advantage plan, but changed to AB with Plan G. My cousin went with Advantage and was kicked out of nurse support after a month. Wow. Phone widow. This is getting scary. My husband and I work in public. I don't want a Molotov cocktail thrown on us. Pray for us. Keep fighting. Yes, keep fighting. George Rivera. Worry not about Padilla. Remember, they let Congresswomen go from ICE assault, but she is now facing a combined 20 years in prison. Yelka. Barry, they call Trump a dictator, but he never mandated anything that is detrimental or problematic to the American people or the economy. Captain Danny, yes, down here we have the Intercoastal, and this Saturday they're holding a Trump boat parade. So this Saturday afternoon, I'm probably going to be out there on the Intercoastal or very close to it taking some pictures because it's an awesome sight. Danny, you're going to be in it? Let me know. Claire Butterfield, let me know if you got a seat if you're going to be in it. Claire Butterfield, thank you very much. Barry's a great American. I appreciate that. Thank you. How Granny sees it, Peaceful Haven Media, any crackers and cheese to go with the wine? Oh, they're whining. They'll be whining. Oh, by the way, you'll see it on every station tonight. You bet. MSNBC, CNN will have wall-to-wall coverage. Tania, Barry, we missed you off topic. I had a dumb question. Is there an easy way you could acknowledge all the fanfare birthdays daily? I guess we could if I knew what the birthdays were or how we could catalog that. I have to think about that. Just another knucklehead. Adam Schiff is shipping his pants because he's going to get arrested for real pretty soon. Yep. Where'd that go? Mr. Anderson, he got lured in D.C. yesterday, flew back to L.A. while Congress is in session. Darren Engel, am I the only one who thinks the Senator Padilla thing was staged? Yes. No, you're not the only one. I do believe it was staged as well. He dressed down. He wanted to get thrown out. Catherine Ross, they tried that in Austin, Texas, and FAFO fast. And MP in North Wisconsin, don't come here. You may not return from there either. Good for you. And Barbara Kelly, thank you, Barry, for your broadcast. Thank you very much. All right, so 7:30, I will be back on. Telling you right now, I already have the show done, so it's easy. And then I've got to talk to Ann, and I believe 8:30, got to talk to her. So we got a whole show already in the can. Thank you guys for being a part of the show and getting our place in the top 100. Thank you very much. Here's the after party coming at you.